What's up, Taiwan? I'm Eric Gao. Thanks for joining us for the news this afternoon. Taiwan's military is carrying out one of the first public shooting drills using newly delivered U.S.-made tanks. Our defense reporter Jaime Okan was in Hsinchu to see them in action.
We're here in one of Taiwan's largest tank training facilities where the military is conducting live-fire shooting with new U.S.-made Abrams tanks, some of the most powerful in the world, so powerful that we have to wear earplugs during the drill. This live-fire session is not part of Taiwan's annual Hangguang exercises, being held at the same time elsewhere in the country. That's because these tanks, known as the M1A2, arrived just 7 months ago and have not yet been officially commissioned by the Army. Still, Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te, who was overseeing the drills, says he wants to give the public a glimpse into how the military is training to use these advanced systems.
不管是打击能力，或者是机动性，都非常的强大。无怪乎 M1A2T 战车会被誉为地表上战力最强的战车。
Taiwan ordered 108 Abrams tanks in 2019 in a deal worth nearly $2 billion. After the first batch arrived in December 2024, the military began integrating them into its armored cavalry units. Soldiers inside the tank say the state-of-the-art technology makes them far easier to operate than Taiwan's older models, with commanders saying they allow crews to engage the enemy faster.
当然，新的战车它在列歼系统的部分。 它是透过车长一个独立的热源成像仪，在整个接战过程中不断的发现、寻找目标，然后提供射手实施射击。
Taiwan's military says the Abrams tanks should officially be commissioned into service by 2026. With more than 1,000 tanks in Taiwan's arsenal, Army officials here say that this shooting drill ushers in a new era as part of the country's plan to have a modernized fighting force, one that is capable of handling any kind of threat. Fu Hong and Jaime Okan in Hsinchu for TaiwanPlus.
As Jaime noted, those tank drills come as Taiwan is holding its largest annual military exercise, the Hangguang. Jaime explains what we will see during this year's drills.
The year is 2027, and as China ramps up its threats to take Taiwan by force, many believe an attack is imminent. This is the scenario behind this year's Hangguang exercises, Taiwan's largest annual military drills, simulating how the country would defend against an all-out attack from China. While the drills have been carried out since the 1980s, this year's iteration is the longest ever, with the duration extended from 5 days to 10.
我的观察是，今年的汉光41号演习最重要的是象征台湾这个军事改革的顺利启动。因为这种 defense reform 最重要其实是一个组织文化。
The drills begin with simulating Chinese gray zone tactics, operations that put pressure on Taiwan but stop short of direct conflict. This includes Chinese Coast Guard ships and military aircraft coming close to the country's borders, as well as disinformation campaigns. These are all meant to put pressure on Taiwan and sow internal division. Taiwan's responding by mobilizing a record 22,000 reservists to practice handling the variety of threats Taiwan might face from China's military or the PLA.
I think that might be China's overall grand strategy, where tear Taiwan apart from the inside and let PLA come in to finish the job. But tearing Taiwan apart from the inside in and by itself is not going to cause Taiwan to surrender to China. The PLA still has to come in.
That's why the second stage of Hangguang simulates what would happen if those tactics suddenly escalate and turn into an all-out war, with Taiwan conducting coastal defense drills. While Taiwan has practiced how to stop an invasion for decades, many exercises, even apart from Hangguang, have been criticized for being too scripted, as many soldiers already know how the drills will play out beforehand.
I hear from people when I criticize these types of exercises of cramming everybody shoulder to shoulder for a nice photo op, and they say that's not how we really do it. But another truism in warfare is you practice like you play, you fight like you train. And so if all you've ever been doing, or most of what you've been doing, is training soldiers to just lay there in a static position with a well-known target on a beach so you get a good picture, that's instinctively what they're going to do.
The last component of Hangguang focuses on an attack further inland, as well as civilian operations. On one of the last days of the drill, the capital of Taipei will undergo a citywide air raid drill, with civilians taking cover and escorted into designated safe zones.
But I would say that if we are in full alert, if people are ready, then we don't need to do all these drills. I think this is our current mission, to know or to introduce to our general public that modern warfare is different from what we have known before.
As Taiwan gets ready for 10 days of war games, the military says that the ultimate goal is not a show of force, but more about seeing what Taiwan is lacking to deter possible conflict in the Taiwan Strait. Andy Xue and Jaime Okan for TaiwanPlus.
2 people are dead in the Ukrainian city of Kyiv after Russia bombarded the city with missiles and drones. 13 more people were injured, with homes and vehicles reportedly on fire. It comes a day after Moscow carried out its biggest single-night drone attack of the war, sending more than 700 to strike Ukrainian cities early on Wednesday. 9 people reportedly died in that attack. The barrage mainly targeted the western city of Lutsk, a key point for receiving military aid. Ukrainian officials say air defenses were able to limit the damage. The attack follows U.S. President Trump's decision to resume arms shipments to Ukraine. He now says he is considering sending Ukraine Patriot missiles.
They would like it. They've asked for it. They're very rare indeed, because a lot of systems have been sent to Ukraine. But they would like to. I know they made the request. We're going to have to take a look at it. They want to prevent death. They're getting hit hard, very hard. So we're looking at it.
The Patriot is the U.S.'s main mobile air defense missile system. President Trump has threatened tariffs on 8 more countries, with Brazil facing the biggest blow. Trump has sent letters to Iraq, Libya, Algeria, Sri Lanka, Brunei, Moldova, and the Philippines, announcing tariffs ranging from 20% to 30%. Brazil was hit with a 50% tariff. The Brazilian government says the move is unwarranted as the U.S. runs a trade surplus with the country. It adds that the tariffs will hurt the U.S. economy. The tariffs will take effect on August 1st. U.S. tech giant Nvidia has become the first company in history to hit a $4 trillion valuation. Shares in the chipmaker rose 2.5% on Wednesday, hitting an all-time high of $164 a share, driven by soaring demand for AI technologies. The milestone came as Wall Street rallied on hopes of interest rate cuts, with investors shrugging off inflation concerns tied to new tariffs introduced by President Trump. Former South Korean President Yoon has been sent back to jail as prosecutors investigate his brief martial law declaration last year. The Seoul Central District Court approved a warrant for Yoon's arrest, saying that he is a flight risk. Yoon's lawyers have called the prosecution's investigation hasty. In April, South Korea's Constitutional Court upheld Yoon's impeachment, removing him from office. He is also facing criminal charges over his attempt to impose martial law. The power is still out in thousands of homes, days after Typhoon tore through central and southern Taiwan. A final tally of the damage might take some time, but the estimates are already steep. John Van Trieste reports.
The cleanup after Typhoon is now a national affair. The military is helping remove the fallen trees that litter Taiwan's west coast from the center to the south. And some cities spared from the worst of the storm, Kaohsiung, New Taipei, and Taoyuan, have sent teams and equipment to help, too. There's still a long way to go before life gets back to normal at the center of the damage path. Even 3 days after the typhoon passed, some people are still stunned at what they saw.
来不及呀，就是先救车子，然后车子救完再救东西，根本来不及。它很快，我们这里像滞洪池一样。
Cars are ruined, basements flooded, streets are washed out, and everywhere there are uprooted trees and utility poles mixed in with rubble. Work to restore power and water has made major progress, with most of the grid back online, but around 68,000 homes are still in the dark. Many people around the region have felt despair these past few days.
无电啦，无电视啦，冰箱物件歹了了啦。中央哦，甲市政府哦，会来甲到帮助。
Some of the worst damage has been to agriculture. Losses across the country are expected to hit around $55 million. And it's not just crops. The many fish farms that dot the mid to southern west coast are seeing mass die-offs as they remain cut off from the power needed to run the oxygenators for the ponds. Some in the industry feel ignored by those who could help them.
好像就是弃婴一样，只是在旁边隔壁村庄作秀，我们呢，下一餐在哪里都不知道。
Schools and workplaces remain closed across much of Taiwan, even in some places not so hard hit. There are two problems. One is that schools or campuses didn't escape the storm's fury. By one count, over 550 schools and museums suffered some kind of damage. But secondly, the rains haven't let up, as unstable weather takes over where the typhoon left off. For much of Thursday, the entire south of Taiwan is under a rain advisory. For some residents, the worst of a week of extreme weather may not yet be over. Andy Xue and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
The issue of the death penalty is taking center stage as lawmakers grill President Lai Ching-te's second round of justice nominees. Prosecutor Tsai Chiu-ming, the nominee for Grand Justice and President of the Judiciary, spoke to the legislature on Wednesday. He says he does not support abolishing the death penalty, which was ruled partially constitutional last year. Tsai is one of 7 people nominated by President Lai to fill Taiwan's top court. The court has not been able to hear cases due to a new measure requiring a minimum of 10 justices to do so. A Taiwanese company is letting people turn their plastic waste into wearable fashion. John is back with this story.
After carefully snipping up plastic waste they've brought from home, participants at this DIY workshop are ready for the final step, crushing and melting it all down into a memento they can take home. This is Trash Kitchen, a studio in Taipei specialized in recycling magic. Using a recycling machine called a mini trash espresso invented in Taiwan, the studio creates all kinds of recycled products, from decorative wall tiles, bricks, and clothes hangers to the trendy sunglasses today's participants are making. The company that invented this recycling machine says there's a serious purpose to this fun and creativity.
Everyone kept saying recycling is high energy footprint, it's really dirty, oh, that's why we'd rather not do it, or reusing is very difficult. So we are trying to show you reusing save a lot of carbon footprint because we measure the electricity here, we measure the air quality here, and then you know what every pair of, let's say, sunglasses we make in this process, you are reducing around 400 grams of carbon.
The sunglasses made in today's program have the endorsement of some real fashionistas, including the chief editor of the Taiwan edition of an international fashion magazine.
环保跟 fashion 这件事情，它有，可是它要真正的落实，或是它的全部都是这样的话，我觉得还是有非常非常长的路要走。那我觉得对于消费者来讲，他要能够站在很一线的去感受这件事情是很重要的。那我觉得这个 workshop 是一个很好的开始。
And it is only a start. 2023 saw Taiwan throw out nearly 12 million tons of waste, a new record. Over 6 million tons of that was recyclable. But while these sunglasses will only make a tiny dent, the process of making them is changing how people think about waste.
我有2个小孩，也要为他们的未来想，也要为他们的小孩的未来想。就算你今天一个 trash， 反正没想到就丢一下，只是 kick 那个 problem down the road。所以，如果大家都可以做好一点，多 recycle 一点，少用 plastic 一点，这样子可以 make a big difference.
And if this change in mindset changes habits and lifestyles, Taiwan's explosion of trash could begin easing off. John Su and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Thanks again for watching What's Up Taiwan. Follow us on social media to get updates from us in your feed. Finally, we take you to the UK's Tate Modern for a look at textile art and paintings by an Australian Aboriginal artist. I'm Eric Gao. Take care. We'll see you next time.
In the face of adversity, the power of truth.
A roadmap for a just and open world, charted by the freest country in Asia.
Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
TaiwanPlus News, a voice of freedom in Asia.